Perhaps we have all witnessed a loved one slowly fading over time. At first, the changes seem subtle. They eat less, sleep more, or lose interest in things that once brought them joy. But as the days pass, we begin to realize they are no longer the same. Their steps grow slower, their voice weaker, and their eyes hold a quiet sadness that we struggle to understand. Caring for someone in their final stage of life is not just a physical responsibility. It is an emotional journey filled with both love and heartache. We long to hold on to them, yet we must also accept the inevitable. But even in this painful reality, there is something meaningful we can do. We can ensure that their final days are filled with love, dignity, and peace. Because in the end, what truly matters is not how much time remains, but how deeply they feel cared for. Sign 1. Significant weight loss and loss of appetite. There is something deeply unsettling about seeing a loved one gradually shrink before our eyes. The way their clothes hang loosely on their frame, how their belt suddenly needs tightening, or how they push their plate away after only a few bites. It's easy to dismiss these changes as normal aging. But deep down, we sense that something is different. Weight loss in the final stage of life is not just about physical appearance. It is a silent message from the body. It tells us that the systems that once worked effortlessly, digesting food, absorbing nutrients, building strength, are now slowing down. The body is no longer prioritizing energy for growth or repair. Instead, it is conserving what little remains. At first, families often try to fix the problem. We cook their favorite meals, encourage them to eat more, even buy supplements in hopes of restoring their strength. But as the days pass, we realize that no amount of persuasion can bring back their appetite. Food no longer holds the same appeal. Their sense of taste fades, and even their favorite dishes feel like a burden to consume. It's not that they don't want to eat, it's that their body is slowly letting go of the need for it. This realization can be heartbreaking. We have always associated food with love, with care, with nourishment. Sitting together at the dinner table, sharing meals, ensuring that they are eating enough, has always been our way of showing that we care. But in this phase of life, nourishment takes on a different meaning. It is no longer about forcing them to eat more, but about comfort, offering small, easy-to-digest meals, providing hydration, and most importantly, being present. We must remember that this change is not something we can fight against, but something we can walk through with them. Instead of worrying about calories, we can focus on making them feel safe, loved, and understood. A warm sip of soup, a favorite fruit, a gentle hand on their shoulder. Sometimes these small gestures mean more than a full meal ever could. As difficult as it is to witness this decline, it is also a reminder that our role is not to prevent what is coming, but to make every remaining moment as peaceful and meaningful as possible. Because in the end, what they need most is not another plate of food. It is our love, our patience, and our unwavering presence. Before we move on to the next sign, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever noticed changes in a loved one's appetite or weight and wondered what it meant? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one of them. And if you're finding this video helpful, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future content. Your support helps us continue creating videos that inform, comfort, and guide those going through this difficult journey. Now, let's move on to the next sign. Sign 2, extreme fatigue and weakness. There is a moment when you begin to realize that the person you love is no longer moving through life the way they used to. The once lively steps have turned slow and hesitant. The hands that used to cook, garden, or write letters now struggle to button a shirt or lift a glass of water. Even simple tasks, getting out of bed, walking to the door, or sitting up straight, seem to take an immense amount of effort. It's not just tiredness, it's an exhaustion that no amount of rest can fix. At first, it's tempting to encourage them to push through, to believe that with enough motivation they can regain their energy. We tell them, just try a little harder, or you'll feel better if you move around more. But deep down, we begin to see the truth. Their body is slowing down, and no amount of willpower can change that. This kind of fatigue is not from lack of activity. It's the body's way of conserving the little energy it has left. As their heart beats slower and circulation weakens, their muscles don't get the same oxygen they once did. Metabolism slows, and their body shifts from sustaining movement to preserving life. It's why they sleep more, why they drift in and out of conversations, why they seem to disappear into themselves. It's not that they don't want to engage, it's that they simply can't the way they used to. And yet this phase is not just difficult for them, it's heartbreaking for those who love them. Watching a once independent parent, grandparent, or spouse grow weaker can feel unbearable. We may grieve their fading strength before they are even gone. We miss the version of them who could walk beside us, who could laugh effortlessly, who could reach for us without needing help. But in this stage, our role is no longer to push them to be who they were. It's to accept them as they are now. Instead of urging them to try harder, we can sit beside them, hold their hand, and tell them that it's okay to rest. Instead of measuring their strength by how much they can do, we can measure it by how deeply they are loved. So if you notice someone you love experiencing profound, unshakable fatigue, let them know they don't have to fight alone. Because in these moments, what they need most isn't another expectation placed upon them. It's the comfort of knowing they are not alone, they are understood, and they are still deeply valued. Sign 3. Cognitive decline or social withdrawal. There is a unique kind of grief that comes not from losing a person, but from watching them slip away while they are still here. You notice it in small ways at first, repeating the same question, forgetting a familiar name, struggling to follow a conversation they would have once led effortlessly. Then, as time passes, the changes become more profound. They may lose track of time, get confused about where they are, or even look at you with a distant expression, as if trying to place who you are. It is heartbreaking to watch someone who was once sharp, articulate, and full of life begin to struggle with their thoughts. And it's even more painful when they start to withdraw, not because they don't love you anymore, but because the effort to engage becomes too overwhelming. The world, which once felt familiar, now feels foreign. Loud conversations, social gatherings, even simple chats over coffee may leave them exhausted, anxious, or disconnected. At first, we may try to pull them back, reminding them of things they've forgotten, correcting their mistakes, trying to keep them engaged. But we soon realize that no amount of prompting can bring back the clarity they once had. Instead of feeling comforted, they may become frustrated or ashamed, sensing that something is slipping from their grasp, but unable to stop it. This withdrawal isn't just a choice, it's a response to the brain's gradual decline. As oxygen flow to the brain weakens, cognitive function fades, making it harder for them to process information, form new memories, or even express emotions the way they used to. Some may become irritable or anxious, while others may seem unusually quiet, as if retreating into their own world. For families, This stage can be one of the hardest to accept. It feels like losing them before they are actually gone. But what matters now is not forcing them to return to who they were, but meeting them where they are. If they forget a story, let them tell it again. If they sit in silence, sit with them. If they struggle to recognize a name, remind them gently, without pressure. Because even when words fade, love remains. Even when memories slip away, the warmth of your presence lingers. And in the end, what matters most is not how much they can remember, but how deeply they can still feel your love. Sign 4. Frequent infections and slow healing. There is something deeply unsettling about watching a loved one's body lose its ability to heal. A simple cold lingers longer than it should. A small cut, which once would have healed in days, remains raw and fragile for weeks. Bruises appear more easily, and infections seem to come one after another. It's as if their body, once resilient and strong, is slowly surrendering to time. At first, we tell ourselves it's just a passing illness, that they'll recover like they always have. We bring them medicine, encourage them to rest, and reassure them, and ourselves, that they'll be fine soon. But as infections become more frequent and their body struggles to fight back, a painful truth emerges. Their immune system is no longer working as it once did. What used to be a minor inconvenience now feels like a battle they can no longer win. It's not just colds or the flu. Urinary tract infections become more common, sometimes making them confused or disoriented before we even notice physical symptoms. Skin infections or bed sores appear if they are less mobile, and even their gums or mouth may show signs of persistent inflammation. With each new infection, recovery takes longer, and we begin to realize that their body is not just fighting illness, it is slowly letting go. And yet, we still want to help. We push for stronger treatments, more doctor visits, another round of antibiotics, hoping that with just the right care, they will regain their strength. But over time, we see that some infections never fully go away, that even when one illness passes, another soon follows. We realize that their body is no longer trying to repair itself. It is preparing for the inevitable. This is one of the hardest things for families to accept. We are taught to fight, to treat, to heal. But in this stage of life, the focus shifts from curing to comforting. Instead of chasing every new medication, we can focus on keeping them as comfortable as possible. Ensuring they stay hydrated, keeping their skin clean and moisturized, and preventing unnecessary stress on their body can do more for their well-being than any aggressive treatment. Because at this stage, what they need most is not another hospital visit. It is to feel at peace. They need gentle hands to care for them, familiar voices to reassure them, and loved ones who understand that true healing isn't always about recovery. Sometimes it's about letting go with dignity, surrounded by warmth, love, and acceptance. If you've found this insight helpful so far, let me know by leaving a 4 in the comments below. Your thoughts and experiences matter, and I'd love to hear how you've handled these challenges with your loved ones. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the rest of this important discussion. Now, let's move on to the next sign. Sign 5. Changes in breathing and circulation. There is something profoundly unsettling about watching a loved one struggle to breathe. The rise and fall of their chest, once steady and effortless, becomes irregular, sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow. You may notice long pauses between breaths, a moment of stillness that makes your heart stop, only for them to inhale again in a shallow gasp. Their hands, once warm and full of life, now feel cold. Their fingertips or lips may take on a bluish hue, as if their body is slowly pulling away from the world. These changes are subtle at first. Perhaps they become winded more easily, needing to catch their breath after a short walk, or even just sitting up. Then, over time, even speaking or shifting positions takes effort. You may hear a faint gurgling sound as they breathe, or notice that they prefer to sleep propped up on pillows rather than lying flat. What once seemed like simple fatigue is actually something deeper, the body's way of conserving energy, directing blood flow to the most vital organs, and preparing for the final transition. For those who love them, these moments are terrifying. It's natural to feel panic, to want to do something, anything, to help them breathe easier. We adjust pillows, bring them water, hold their hand, whisper reassurances. We may even rush them to the doctor, hoping for medication, oxygen therapy, anything that can restore their breath to what it once was. But deep down, we begin to understand that these changes are not something to be fixed. They are signs that their body is letting go, and our role now is not to fight against it, but to walk alongside them through it. This is where comfort becomes more important than intervention. A cool, quiet room, a gentle hand on theirs, speaking softly even when they can no longer respond, making sure they are as relaxed as possible, not struggling against the inevitable. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give is simply being there, providing the peace and reassurance that they are not alone. It is in these moments that we realize the true meaning of presence, not in fixing, not in saving, but in loving without condition. And when their breath eventually slows for the last time, when stillness finally settles, we can take comfort in knowing that they left this world not in fear, but in the quiet embrace of those who loved them most. Sign 6. Disrupted sleep patterns and day-night reversal. There is something deeply unsettling about watching a loved one drift in and out of sleep, their rhythm no longer aligning with the world around them. At first, you may notice they nap more during the day, their energy fading long before the afternoon arrives. Then, as night falls, they struggle to rest, tossing, turning, staring at the ceiling, lost somewhere between wakefulness and dreams. The familiar pattern of day and night, which once governed their life, begins to blur. At first, it's easy to think, maybe they just need more activity during the day. You encourage them to stay awake longer, to move around, hoping they'll be tired enough to sleep through the night. But it doesn't work. Their body follows a different clock now, one not dictated by time, but by its own slow decline. The metabolic changes, the weakened circulation, the brain's diminishing ability to regulate sleep. It all contributes to this shift, making them more disconnected from the passing hours. Some nights they may call out for you, confused about whether it's morning or evening. Other nights they may simply lie awake, lost in thoughts they can no longer express. And then there are the dreams, their mind slipping between the past and the present, memories surfacing in vivid detail. You might hear them speaking to people who are no longer here, reliving moments that shaped their life. At first it's startling, then it becomes clear. They are slowly transitioning, their mind preparing for the journey ahead. For families, this phase is exhausting, not just physically, but emotionally. You may find yourself waking up at odd hours to check on them, adjusting their blankets, offering a sip of water, whispering reassurances in the darkness. You may feel helpless, wondering if there's something more you can do to bring them comfort. But perhaps the most important thing isn't trying to fix their sleep. It's accepting that their body no longer follows the rhythms it once did. Instead of forcing them to sleep at the right time, you can focus on making their waking hours as peaceful as possible. A soft lit room, gentle conversations, familiar voices that remind them they are safe. Because in the end, it's not about keeping them awake during the day or ensuring they sleep through the night. It's about making sure that no matter when they open their eyes, they are met with love, warmth, and the quiet reassurance that they are never alone. Sign 7. A sense of closure and unspoken goodbyes. There comes a moment when you begin to feel that a loved one is saying goodbye, not with words, but in the way they look at you, in the way they hold your hand a little longer, in the way they suddenly seem at peace with things that once troubled them. It is not always something you can pinpoint. It is a shift, a quiet knowing, a sense that they are preparing for something beyond this world. At first, it may seem like a burst of clarity. They might start recalling old stories, even ones they haven't spoken of in years. You may hear them reflect on their past, talking about loved ones who have already passed, moments they cherished, regrets they have finally let go of. Some may reach out to old friends, expressing gratitude or offering long-awaited forgiveness. Others may withdraw, speaking less, as if they are already stepping away from this life. And then there are the unspoken goodbyes, the way they suddenly express love more openly, the way they make sure certain things are in order, the way they seem to be waiting for something or someone. You may notice them holding on to life just a little longer, as if they are waiting to see a particular person one last time. Or perhaps they begin to speak of loved ones who have already passed, as if they can see them just beyond the veil. For families, this can be one of the hardest yet most precious moments. There is an ache in knowing that they are letting go, but there is also a beauty in it. The realization that they are finding peace, that they are not afraid, that they are preparing for a journey we cannot yet follow. It is natural to want to hold on, to beg them to stay a little longer, to try and keep them anchored here. But in these moments, the greatest act of love is not asking them to fight. It is giving them permission to go, to whisper, "It's okay. We love you. You can rest now." Because in the end, what truly matters is not preventing the inevitable, but ensuring that their final days, their final moments, are filled with love, warmth, and the unwavering comfort of knowing they were cherished until their very last breath. Watching a loved one go through their final year of life is one of the hardest journeys we will ever take. The changes, physical, emotional, and cognitive, are heartbreaking, but they are also a reminder of the precious time we still have. While we cannot stop what is coming, we can choose how we walk alongside them. We can offer comfort instead of control, presence instead of panic, love instead of fear. This journey is not about fighting against time, but about making every moment meaningful. It's about ensuring that in their final days, they feel safe, seen, and deeply loved. And when the time comes, we can find peace in knowing that we did everything we could to make their transition as gentle as possible. If this video resonated with you, let me know by leaving a 7 in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating content that provides comfort and guidance during life's most difficult moments.